folks, welcome back to another episode of our Thanksgiving extravaganza. Today, guys, we are making super simple, super easy, and very, very tasty turkey stuffing. Now, guys, a lot of people think you have to actually stuff the turkey with the stuffing. I don't know if anyone actually does that anymore. It actually slows down the cooking and oftentimes doesn't really taste all that good. So we're gonna make this separately outside of the turkey, but I promise you it is going to be delicious. Now, the beauty of this recipe is you can literally cook it at the same time as, say, your turkey or your other sides because it doesn't actually need that long, and it's very simple. You just get some bread, some aromatics like sage or rosemary, some cranberries, and a couple other little odds and ends. Speaking of things that are odd, if you enjoy any of the oddness that I bring to YouTube, feel free to hit that like, subscribe, or that little sort of dinner bell thingy at the bottom there, guys, so you can know when the next video hits the old YouTube universe. Now, with all that being said, guys, let's walk through the ingredients, but before that, B-roll. Alright folks, with that beautiful B-roll out of the way, let's run through the ingredients. Now, of course, if you're going to be making some stuffing, you're probably going to want to grab yourself a nice loaf of bread. Now, you can use any bread you like, but I'm using a country loaf here. This is not particularly the best quality of bread, but it'll work just fine for our stuffing. And while I'm sure you can get away with your traditional white sliced Wonder Bread, I do recommend something a little bit heartier. With your bread selected, go ahead and grab yourself some celery. Now, for the number of people I'm serving, I'm using about 3 or 4 stalks of celery, but you can always add more if you like. Next, you want to grab yourself some dried cranberries. Now, these are unsweetened, but if you want something a bit on the sweet side, go ahead and grab those, but you'll need about a cup. Then you'll need to find yourself your most raggedy of onions, like this one. To that, you'll go ahead and add yourself a bit of sage, just about a handful. Again, you can always use more or less to taste, before grabbing yourself some fresh parsley. Again, a good handful should do the trick. For dry herbs, you're going to want to use some dried thyme as well as some dried rosemary. About a half teaspoon to a teaspoon should do the trick. Now, our bread's going to need a way to soak up that flavor, so we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves a bouillon cube. This is a mushroom stock here, guys. Now, you could use beef or chicken or vegetable or really anything that you like, but I thought mushroom would be a good pairing. Kind of gives it a bit of unctuousness. In any case, 1 cup of stock will do the trick. And finally, you're going to go ahead and grab yourself some kosher salt as well as some freshly ground black pepper. So with our ingredients covered, just keep in mind, guys, this is going to be slightly to taste and also depending on how many people you are serving. That being said, let's get to the prep. So go ahead and grab your loaf of bread and begin to cut off a few slices. Now, in my case, guys, we're looking for slices that are about a ½ inch or so thick, something that looks like this. And the reason is because we don't want these to be so thin that they just kind of fall apart. Once you've got enough slices out, go ahead and then cut these again lengthwise to begin to create our long strips of bread. And simply just turn these into about ½ inch cubes. That should look something a little bit like this. So we've got a lot of people to feed, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and speed this up so you guys can just bypass this, but basically you should have a final product that looks a little bit like this. With all your bread in the casserole, we're gonna go ahead and coat this with some olive oil. Again, here, guys, you're gonna wanna do it depending on how much you have, but about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil should do. With that, we're gonna season with some kosher salt just to help with the drying process. So with our bread, oil, and salt, it's time to move to the next step, which is gonna be to prep our celery. So go ahead and grab your 5 or 6 celery stalks and just give this a quick and thin slice. Again, depending on how many people you have, you're going to need a bit or a little bit less celery. Once thinly chopped, go ahead and majestically transfer this to your bowl before moving to your onion. My God, that thing is raggedy. Anyways, go ahead and cut that in half, and we're going to quickly dice this up as well. Now, you might be asking, can I use a different onion? And the answer to that is no. You must use a white onion. That is the way it is done. Please do it with a white onion, do not use a red. Anyways, continue to chop your onion until they're all finely done and transfer that to a bowl. To that bowl, you're going to add your rosemary and thyme. Again, about a teaspoon or so should do the trick. And if you don't like rosemary or thyme, you can go ahead and skip this or just add one or the other. But what you won't skip is the sage, because the sage adds so much flavor to stuffing, guys. So go ahead and just take a couple leaves here, about a bundle, and slice it up nice and thin. Now, in my case, I'm giving this a fine dice just because I don't want large chunks of sage. So go ahead and transfer your sage to the bowl. Up next, we're going to grab our parsley and basically do the same thing. Just another fine dice on our fresh herbs. That'll go a long way with the color and the flavor. So with the parsley chop, just go ahead and put this in the bowl with everybody else before adding your dried cranberries. Now here I'm using about 3/4 cup, but you can always use a little bit more if you like. In any case, give this a quick mix to incorporate all these flavors, guys, and you should have a pretty colorful and fairly delicious looking, well, raw stuffing, but we're going to go ahead and get this cooking. So in a medium heat cast iron skillet, we're going to go ahead and add about a tablespoon of olive oil before transferring the aromatics from our stuffing into the pan. Now this won't take very long to cook, so go ahead and give this a couple of quick stirs. Once the onions are translucent, this is mostly done. And this should take about 3 to 5 minutes before it's basically ready to come off the heat. Once those 5 minutes are up, go ahead and put this into a bowl, and let's go ahead and put everything together. So gently place your bread into the bowl along with our other ingredients before realizing you probably need a much bigger bowl. With the bowl almost overflowing, we're naturally going to add liquid because apparently that's going to help our problem. But anyways, we're going to add about 1 cup of stock. Now I know I have 2 cups here, guys, but we only used about half. This is just to soak everything through and through. Then we're just going to go ahead and mix it by hand before transferring it into our baking dish. So with your stuffing in the casserole, you're going to go ahead and cover this with some aluminum foil before placing it in an oven at about 400 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes, or until golden brown like so. Now up close, guys, you can see how much color, flavor, and texture this has. It's a really simple stuffing and definitely one that's going to go a long way during your Thanksgiving dinner. And there you go, guys. There is our stuffing done. Super simple and very delicious. I promise you it's going to be a hit at your Thanksgiving meal. So that'll do it for me, guys. As always, thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. We will see you in the next one.